Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming, and in this video I'm going to mostly show you guys some stuff from my personal collection, then we'll talk about a few things as well. I'm actually going to start off with a letter that I received. It said, Dear Rusty, I'd like to thank you for all the work you do in Pokemon scene. As a 90s kid, I remember the early days of Pokemon cards. Regretfully, I sold the cards I had as back then money was tight. Through your channel, I came back into the hobby, opening some XY Evolutions in 2020 during the early days. That that's towards the end of the print run for Evolutions, because I mean it came out in 2016. Uh, During the early days of the pandemic, as the escape from your crazy world, or as an escape from the crazy world as it was that time. A lot of people did that. I think uh, that was a pretty big time for Pokemon. Your awesome Charizard collection has been of particular inspiration for my Scyther collection, which continues to grow. Congratulations on that. Through your videos, I have learned much about the hobby and am sure will continue to enjoy them into the future. Wishing you and your family a healthy and happy rest of 2025. Kind regards, Franklin Delano Bluth, aka FDB. P.S. Thank you for the eBay advice you gave me a while back when I reached out to you. Your thoughtful advice was much appreciated. Cheers. I don't remember the advice, but I do appreciate all of the streams that you used to come into when I held streams. It's been a while since I've had those. He did send this right here. So very thoughtful. The Snorlax, I'm sure that was for my wife. She loves Snorlax. That's her favorite Pokemon. Then we got a Glaceon V. I'm sure Sarah will love that. Got an Espeon V. Emma likes the V's as well, or the evolutions. John does too, and admittedly I do at times. Then we have a Charmander here, which I don't know if I assume he saw it. Looks like there's like a print line across his face right there. Not sure what's going on with that one, but I assume that it comes from the printer itself. So that's kind of cool. It looks like he sent a card for everybody, 3 for the kids, 1 for my wife, and then an error for me on a Charmander. So definitely appreciate that. I want to show you guys some stuff from my personal collection. If you've been following my wife on Poke Family, you know that she has been showing off quite a few different things of my personal collection. And sometimes I don't pull things out to look at them. And so what I have right now is mostly just graded cards. That's from the WotC era. Then I have some modern things that I've kind of invested to, and then random sealed products just kind of strode everywhere. Even like what you see behind me. I mean, this is just random stuff that I kind of like, and it almost come about to me in a way that was like I've got like these two different personalities when it comes to collecting. On one hand, I like to have complete, nice, succinct everything, Gem Mint 10, all from the same set in a box. And then I have this other side of me that's like I like the chaos, and I'm going to show you something else that's a little bit chaotic, but I really like the way that it is as well. All right, so this is Team Rocket. Everybody knows probably what Team Rocket set is. Destined Rivals brought back a lot of, I think, stir for this set. You see it's got a nice swirl there on the dark Arbok. For a long time, you can get this set relatively cheap compared to some of the other sets. Like Dark Charizard First Edition, for example. This is the second First Edition Charizard. Only one is one of 5 that were ever printed on the English side. And you could get this in a PSA 10 for like $3,000, something like that. It's definitely went up since then. I think the last one I sold went for over $8,000. But I have no idea where it's sitting at now. Dark Dragonite was another cheap one. You can get this for under $1,000 for a long time. And I'm saying like in the relative past like 5 years or so. Of course, when I obtained these cards, they were probably quite a bit less than that, or I graded them myself. Some of the cards like this, I mean, you could get for just a couple $100. Dark Arbok and Dark Weezing were always super cheap. And if you ever notice like the cert numbers, like I finished a lot of these collections before the boom hit, and so that's when we were in like the 2 cert era. And once it transitioned to 4, it became like a meme. Like the 2 certs were bad, the 4 certs were good. And now it seems like nobody wants anything unless it's over 100 million, which is kind of crazy to think about. Here we have this Dark Hypno, another cheap one. Dark Machamp was always pretty cheap as well. Now this guy up here, this was the lowest pop in the set. Was very expensive. I think I obtained mine for about $2,000 or so. $2,500 was a going rate for a while, but I think I've seen some sales since then, closer to $10,000 than $2,000. Here we've got Dark Slowbro. It's got a minion back there. Nice little addition to the artwork. I like it when they do a little bit more, especially on these old cards. It kind of makes it unique and special. Dark Weezing, of course, you could get this unlimited in a theme deck, just like the Dark Arbok. For a while there, I had several holo versions, but I didn't have the non-holo version because it's so hard to tell if this card is holographic or not because of how dark the background is. One of the easiest 10s here with the Here Comes Team Rocket. We have Rocket Sneak Attack, Rainbow Energy, another low pop card. Of course, it's not as popular as a Pokemon would be, but it's still, because it's so low pop, this is a card that holds a pretty decent premium. And then, of course, the Conundrum card. Here we have the very first secret rare, if you don't count the first edition Ivy Pikachu. This was an intentional card put into the set. In fact, it was supposed to be in Neo Discovery. If you go to the Japanese side, that's where it was released. It was released in Neo Discovery. Neo Discovery has a few different things on the Japanese side. Like they have two different variations of the, I believe it's the Ruin Wall. Like one has a Kabuto, the other one has a, I can't even remember now. Maybe it's, yes, Kabuto, and then there's some other Pokemon that's on, that you can get two different variations, but the English side only has the one. But anyways, people used to say this is like the triple error card. Back at least when I was a kid, that's what I would always hear it called as, because it was supersetted. You've got the 83 out of 82. It says right here, put Raichu on the basic Pokemon instead of put Dark Raichu on the basic Pokemon. And then the evolution box, if you look at a standard evolution box, it's supposed to be dark in the background, but it was light. It's light behind the Pikachu. And, sometimes these things get lost to time. But Dark Raichu, very cool card. In fact, I want to say that I had graded this one, and it was in the midst of a bunch of other cards, and it came back as an 8, and I couldn't believe it. So I cracked it out, and I resubmitted it and got a 10. It was either this one or another one, but this one's really nice. It's got one little tiny white dot. It's hard to even see right here. But centering is good, surface is good. Definitely happy to still have these in my collection, but this is kind of like the neat, concise side of collecting for me. And if you guys are expecting me to talk about the market, I'm kind of leaving that to several other PokeTubers right now. There's a lot going on in the market, but I think that you can find a lot of home space in collecting, especially times like this where people are going to be sending a lot more stuff to auction, selling products off, trying to make ends meet for Christmas or whatever it is. Typically, this is a good time for sellers. Like there's a lot of money coming in, but it seems like the market sentiment has changed very, very quickly. And, we've seen a trace back on a lot of items. However, there's still many opportunities for both buyers and sellers. And I think right now, if you're looking to buy some things, then you might have an opportunity. But here's a binder that I just recently started working on. If you guys remember, I had picked up several of these pre-release Clefables off of somebody. I picked up 10 of them. One of them ended up going to somebody else, but now I'm gonna keep these as they are. This one has a stamped stamp, which is kind of cool. But that's what started this binder. I stuck these in a binder because I was like, these aren't worth grading. They're really not. I mean, they're all going to come back probably 6s, maybe I'll get a 7 here or there. Long shot 8, definitely no 9s or 10s, because they're very clean on the front, but the back has that standard, just the issues that you're going to see. So like if we're looking at this Clefable, you shine it in the light, it's like, man, that's a pretty clean card on the front. Then you flip it over, and even from this far zoomed out, is zoom in. Like, look at those corners. I mean, they're just bad. Like, that's just how these cards were made, unfortunately. And so that's why there are no PSA 10s in the registry. Probably never will be. If one comes out, that would be amazing. But as soon as I filled out this page, I decided I was going to start some more pages and just kind of put cards in here that I pick up at places, or that I pick up through collections that I like that really aren't worth grading. And it took me back to a time where I've done this before, and I just made an entire binder full of just nothing but cards that I just like. I think they're special for whatever reason. They're not really worth grading, and I stuck them in a binder because they look so good in a binder. And eventually I did take the binder and I just graded everything, and I moved on. But it kind of keeps the collecting alive for me, and I hope you guys are finding something right now that can help you keep the collecting alive, whether it be raw cards, if you like sealed product, or just chasing down something and keeping it in a nice pristine stack of that particular grade. Like even if you're just collecting a set and you're trying to get all the hollows in PSA 10, something cheap that you could do. Or maybe not even PSA 10, just have all of the cards from a set, stick them in a binder, fill it in as you go. I think there's ways that you can continue to find like a profitable way for your collecting experience, not so much the money side of things. All right, so here's my next page, a whole lot different here. Yeah, I guess I could do one page at a time. Over here we have the amazing rare Quays. I had several of these picked up that I was looking to grade some of them. I was having the kids find them, and I was like, this one's really not gradable. Let me stick it in there. There's a base set Charizard. I don't even remember where I got this raw one from. My wife likes the Calyrex. I picked up this Raichu, I think from somebody at a con, because it's off center, but it was so clean. I got this Blastoise here. It's a red dot. Got that from Pokemonster LLC. In fact, there's probably several cards here that I got from places like that. Got a Miraidon. I just like the way that one looks. A Japanese Beedrill V. Light Toxicity V. Here we got a Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX. And you're going to see some cards in here are repeated several times. Like this Umbreon EX, I think I bought for $850. I thought it was in really good shape. I can't remember if I showed you guys this or not. And then I looked at the bottom corner and I was like, oh yeah, there's a ding right there. Just if I can catch it in the light. There's like a ding right here. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way that I can grade that. So even if it say it pulls out the Miracle 8, I mean, what value did I really add to that? So I was like, let's put it in a binder. It looks really good. Dark Raichu, picked that one up with the Rockets Entei, which I did grade the Rockets Entei. Showed you guys that in the previous CGC returns video. Got a Sandshrew here, just a first edition Sandshrew that I found at Pokemonster LLC. It was like $10. I was like, it's a first edition common card. I think this, to me, this brings back memories, and like this right here reminds me of both the Gym Challenge and the 25th anniversary. So it's a cool card. I like the way this card looks. This Marowak Break, I mean, it's kind of special because most people don't even know Breakthrough has these errors that you can have on the break cards where they have upside down backsides. So if you ever, I believe there's five break cards in the set. If you ever see them, make sure you put the name on the left and then flip the card over, and you might have an upside down Pokeball on the backside. They're not that expensive, but they're also not very well known. When they first come out, I think I was selling them for like $50 a piece. Now they're probably like $10 a piece for the errors, but I paid $4 or $5 total for the card. This is a Zapdos. It's a corrected Zapdos. You can see it's got the Galaxy. Well, you probably can't see it from right there. Like a Galaxy foil. I don't know why we say foil when referring to the type of hollow pattern, but it also doesn't have the evolution box on the side, which there is an error version for the regular Cosmos, or this is Cosmos, not the Galaxy. I can't even remember anyway. It's hard to keep them straight because it's actually changed over time which one was which, and I believe it's more mainstream now. I believe this is the Cosmos. I was referring to it as the Galaxy, and if you go back to an old E4 post, I think I'd posted them as Galaxy, and then somebody else would know this is Cosmos, and so now I believe this is mainstream accepted as Cosmos, which makes more sense because you're kind of looking to the balls and different things. It's like a really bright glare. I wish I could, let me put some underneath there. But this is the 1999-2000 version, which for this card and for others from the set, that doesn't really mean squat because it just means it comes from Thunderstorm, the Thunderstorm gift set or Tempest theme deck. But still, it reminds me of errors and different variations. Like this Swablu is a shiny card that I picked up for pretty cheap at a local sports card shop. They had it in there. It wasn't bulk, but it was still pretty cheap for what it was. Over here, that's where I got to meet Dubsy at the last card party. Some of these cards would date back to then. Some will date a little farther. These Gyarados, or this Gyarados and these Mewtwo's, these are all stain hollows from the theme decks. Got some more cards. I think I traded for this one at a guy, from a kid at card party when I was doing the little meet and greet. Over here, I've shown some of these other cards as well. Another base set Charizard. Got this one and this one in a collection where the guy drove down from New York. All these cards kind of hold different stories of, where they come from, and they mean different things. So like just flipping through a binder like this is very nostalgic for me. Like this right here, I got off of Joshamon, the old card shop. I picked up the Legendary Treasures Radiant Collection as well as the Generations Radiant Collection. There are a few missing cards, but the main ones are there. And they look so good in a binder, or at least I think that they do. They're not. Maybe some of these cards would do good if I graded them. I could make a little bit of money, but for the most part, it's not going to add a whole lot of value getting these cards graded. At least I don't think, anyways. And so they fit perfectly for a binder. So like this is just another side where anytime I get collections in and I'm going through and I see cards that they're nostalgic for me, they mean something, I can just stick them in a collage like this where there's just so much disorganization that it's almost therapeutic for me. I like just seeing the different cards, and I can't, it's like I look at one page, it's like, all right, now I can flip to the next page and see what's here. And I hope that as I add to it, I can fill out the whole binder, and then I just have a really cool binder that I can look at. Kind of like what I had my family do at the first card party, where I just had them pick cards and stick them in a little binder. They filled out the whole thing for me. I've got that set aside, and maybe years from now we can go back and look through it. It's good for times where you might want to take a break from Pokemon, and you come back, and it might be something that actually gets you back into the hobby. But I hope you guys are finding things like this to where you can still collect, you can enjoy the hobby. It's actually inspired me watching PSA Pikachu. If you guys have seen some of his collection picks, or I guess selling pickups. But basically he's a seller. You guys probably know him from Rattle, but he sells a lot of cool stuff, a lot of single cards, sealed products, different things like that. But he posted a few incredible WotC raw collections that he's found recently. It's inspired me to want to collect some of the WotC stuff with my kids, or at least start them for my kids. I've told him to basically send me one of everything for all the WotC sets for Gen 1 anyways, through Gym Challenge. We're going to start there, and then I'm bidding on a few collections on eBay, raw card collections. I haven't done that in so long, but I remember how fun it is when you get in a collection and you realize, hey, these cards are in as good of condition as I thought. Sometimes you lose, sometimes they're bad buys, but that's okay. That's a risk that you take. But usually if you do your research, you look at the cards, you add things up, there's a lot of play that you can have in collections, because not everybody's going to want to buy all of those cards at, say, a seller price. And they may want one or two cards, and there's some deals in there, but it's kind of fun. I love getting in the collections and seeing what people have they focused on. And then it helps me pick out different things that I like, and then I can sell some of the other cards and try to make some of the money back. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.